Hey everybody, how's it going? Well, it's lesson number 6, painting a fall tree, one of my favorite characters. And I'm going to sketch it out here first, and using my Blackwing pencil 602. And I just bought a pencil sharpener recently. I don't know if you can see it here. I got this from Costco. It's a Halo Westcott. They've been making these. They've been making them for years and years, pencil sharpeners. But anyway, the one I just used, they gave me a little extra one too, so I'm outside here. Anyway, I'm starting to draw out the tree, and I'm doing the roots here. And I kind of do like a circular thing sometimes when I'm building stuff to sort of show the form and stuff. It helps with the foreshortening and all that. So that's what I'm doing there. And I don't know if this picture didn't come out really good, but you can kind of see what I'm doing. And I don't know what happened with the contrast, maybe because I'm drawing too light or something. But there I am going with the perspective rings. So over here I'm working on his arm, and I do zoom in kind of like in the editing. I go in closer so you can see what I'm doing with the hand because it's so tiny. So these videos this format is still relatively new to me. This is only my 6th video, so I'm still learning things, but here I'm going in and just blocking in the fingers. And I think on the sketch I give him 4 fingers like a human. But in the finished painting, I only do 3 fingers, more like, you know, Mickey Mouse. Of course, they don't look like Mickey Mouse hands. Then this line here that I go across, like when I'm going like that, again, I'm trying to show perspective and like where things go, like where the knuckles go, because it's not all flat. You know, when you're doing hands and stuff, it bends. And then I messed up here. I did it's supposed to be his right arm, and I did his left arm. And I'm putting his thumb over here. But I think I put the thumb on the other side to start. A lot of times I do stuff like this. Like I said before, you always make mistakes or goof things up, and there's no harm in doing that. That's how you learn and stuff. So this is his thumb here, which I'm going to alter it a little bit. And I'm changing his pinky finger. So I kind of accentuated, or I extended that circular thing so I could see where the knuckle would go. But that really helps, when I'm learning so much more about hands and stuff over the last 3 years, and I draw a lot of them. So here I don't even know if you can see it, and I zoomed in a little so it's a little bit pixelated, but what I'm trying to show here is how when things are overlapping other things, that's when the line goes in front. So that arrow is just to say that's the one I'm doing. Like maybe you might not know. And for those people that can draw, this is just kind of mundane, or you already know all this stuff. So again, I'm doing that middle finger there. And so that line, that darker line I'm making, shows how it's in front. That line there, see how it's in front of the other part. That way it shows it's closer to you. Forward. And it's the same thing with all these lines. And this also applies to doing, cartoony. This is cartoony, but it's a little bit more illustrative because there's a little bit more detail in this character. I wouldn't call it a cartoon. It's more of a humorous illustration, maybe. There again, I have a little arrow that shows how it goes past. And I'm trying to move I'm doing that in the editing. That little arrow there, it shows how the tree has a little bit of a forehead. It just makes it more believable, like a anthropomorphic character. And in the finished painting, I don't know if I followed those perspective lines, but this is a good example, again, of showing, like following the rings around it. It gives it more depth. But then on the nose, I kind of didn't apply that. I just went straight out sideways. But it still works. But you can see how I'm following that line that goes around. So when you want to do something a little bit more sort of realistic and give it more form and depth and perspective and foreshortening, use those lines, because those are like perspective lines. And then of course that line, or that eye, you make it thinner. You know, thinner because it's farther away. And I do that all the time with all my characters. I love the 3/4 view. I think it speaks the most. And then here you can have a character on the nose like a squirrel, or like here I'm doing like a little owl. And I have to erase my notes so I can fit it in. But sketches are just that. They're just sketches. They're used. It's a roadmap for when you do the finished art. If you're painting a window, or if you're doing an illustration or a mural, or whatever it is you're doing, the sketching is just it's a roadmap. It's like the blueprint or instructions, and you can always change it. Because I actually do change the pose when I start painting it, which you will see. And that note there just says straight if you want a character on it. So the nose, you know, kind of comes out a little bit straight, so a character can sit on it. And there again, I'm following the line kind of the circular lines. It's good just to sketch all the time, and that's how you get good. I watch some amazing people like drawing, and then they're like half my age or a third my age, and they're just incredible because they've been doing it since they were really young. And I've always focused in on faces, not bodies and hands and feet. I'm still learning so much about feet and hands, and so here I'm just working on the mouth. And the tree character, I really like him. He's kind of a cool character. He can be kind of creepy too, though, creepy looking. I remember watching Wizard of Oz when I was a kid. Man, I love those flying monkeys, but I love those trees. They're throwing the apples back at Dorothy and her gang. Those lines I just did under the nose, they could have been more circular. They're kind of straight up. They, again, use those circular lines. I love sketching. It's so nice to be retired because, man, it's always been a dream of mine. I always thought, God, what if you had a whole year just to sketch and draw and learn stuff? And I got more than a year. I think that's about it. Oh, I was working on I think the roots on the bottom. As far as colors, this one's pretty easy to paint, but as far as lines, it takes quite a while. It's funny because I have certain motions with my hand that I get stuck with. They're like fixed ideas, you know, about things. And I get lazy and I don't want to do all the circular stuff and this and that. they're like little mental shortcuts I've taken, but I suffer because of it, because I don't take the time to look and, you know, really see what's happening. And that's the thing, just being honest about your level, your skill level and stuff, and that's how you improve. Okay, now I'm doing his other arm. And I end up putting it behind his nose. You can always erase and change, and you could start over with this, you could redraw it, it doesn't matter. There I am looking at my hand, using it as a... So I'm trying to make him kind of wave now. I've got to get rid of that leaf so I can fit his hand in. And then I redraw it. So the fingers, they kind of like, they bend back, and I can't tell on the camera, but they bend back sort of like this. You know, it's like this. The top part's flat, and then this has the pads. There I am posing. And so the next finger will overlap that first finger at the bottom and bring the line down past it. That again gives it perspective. But at the same time, I'm trying to follow the circular path that I've drawn out as a guide. So he's kind of waving. He's like, "Hey, welcome to the forest." There I am, just redrawing it for you to kind of see it again. Once I get the pose, I can kind of do it quicker, and the thumb should have been a little bit lower. And I'm just going in and kind of beefing it up and stuff. And again, this is just it's just a way to, it's like a blueprint or a roadmap for the sketch, you know. When I was working as a full-time commercial window painter, I would never sketch this character because I would just sketch it on the window. I would just, like, you've seen me, what I would do. And I'd work out stuff because it's a familiar character. I've done it, you know, dozens of times. Even though they always look kind of different. Going back in and adding some darks and lights and lines. This video is kind of long, by the way, because I get into brushes too. Like, I've just got some new brushes in. And I'll list them out and stuff so you can check it out. There it is. So this is the 1961 Mac & Meyer mop. I got the 8, 10, and 12 size. And these are nice brushes. I used the 8, and it worked good for outlining. I'm not a scientist. Oh, and this is the AJ1 Alan Johnson signature brush. I also bought that. And then the 25810 Mac. And then I'm using this golden high flow acrylic, and it works really good. It's very spendy, but now that I'm doing these, I'm splurging. So this is the Alan Johnson, the AJ1 Alan Johnson signature brush, and I wish I was closer in so you could see it better. And again, I'm still learning, you know, with these with this video format. But I like this brush. It's good for details. For really large, sweeping, thick and thin lines, I will use the MAC 162, and those are flats. And I use all four sizes. I think there's a 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch, something like that. But those are great for that. But so this is the first time I've tried this one, the Alan Johnson signature brush. But it's nice. I mean, it gets some really nice clean lines. Some real thin ones and thick ones, just depending on how much pressure you apply. Like on that bottom lip, you can see the top line is thinner and the bottom line is thicker. And I don't know if people letter with these brushes. They would have to be really small letters. But I imagine sign writers do. I don't have that skill level as far as sign writing to be able to do any lettering with this. I mean, I do a little bit of lettering with it. I think I write the name of the brush out in it, but you'll see I'm not too good at that. Like on the small stuff, I actually had to rest my hand on the thing. Look at those eyes, they're so wonky. But see how that pulls thick and thin? It's really nice. I wouldn't say this is my first pick, but I like having the brush. Like if I need to do really fine lines, like something super small, smaller than this even, this would be a good brush for that. It's a good brush to have in your arsenal anyway. I think it was $4 or something like that from the Mac Brush Company. And there's other brushes out there. The reason I use these brushes too is they are synthetic. I only use synthetic brushes. It's pretty cool though. So yeah, this video is pretty long. I think I clocked out at 45 minutes. And that's because I'm doing all this extra stuff here with the brushes. So I decided to speed it up because it's just, but you can see on the side there, AJ1 Alan Johnson, I lettered it out. This is the Mac 258. And I think this is probably going to be my main brush for doing small details, but at the same time I get really thick lines. And this is the number 10. But I think this is, oh, that's funny how I turned that 10 into an eyeball. So that's probably going to be the brush. Now this, I lost the footage on it. This is the Mac 162. This is the one I was talking about, the flats. And this one you can use for lettering too. And you can use the Mac 258 for lettering also. So I'm probably going to be mainly using those two, but I also later on talk about some other brushes too. So yeah, you saw the mist tints. I get them for like $1.25. So I got my gray. I mixed some gray in with some black, and they were both mist tints. Just using the regular standard 4-inch roller and drawing it out. I drew those circular lines, but I didn't follow them exactly when I started doing the character. I kind of changed it up a little bit. So far it looks like the drawing pretty much. Yeah, I'm always trying to figure out what the best angles are and the best lighting. This one, it's kind of hard to see it, but you get the idea. And I did have to speed up some of this stuff because we would have been here all night if I hadn't done it. I mean, I got it down to 45 minutes, but that's still a lot. So this time I made his arm, his left arm, up against his side. And then I made this arm the waving hand. I switched it around. And the color is kind of weird because there was some white in the roller. So he's waving still, but he's got his left arm up against his side. I had my GoPro there too because I took some close-up shots and adjusting the camera. And I just go over it. It looks like you can't see the lines anymore, but when this dries, I can see the lines underneath. And you probably noticed I didn't put down a white base, and that's because when I use gray or certain colors, you don't really have to. So here I'm doing the eyes. I'm using kind of a warm butter color, and I can see the lines underneath. If you look really good, you could probably see. So I didn't use white on the eyes. I don't know, for trees, for some reason I like using this color instead. And I use it for his teeth too, so he has yellow teeth. A yellow-toothed tree. This is the Mac 162 half-inch brush. So it's a flat. But I do a lot of outlining with those flat brushes too. But what I suggest is you just try different brushes and see what works for you. I also started using in this video, I'm using the flying squirrel brushes. And I got a set of those from Colt Bolden, and they didn't seem like they worked well, but with that black, the black high flow acrylic, the Golden brand, they work pretty great. So these are just all mist tints I got from Lowe's. Now I'm making a shadow color for the tree. And when I'm doing the shadows like this, I used to, like I said, I used to use the 1 and 2 inch foam before, but now I'm using brushes. I think this is the 1961 Mac Meyer mop, and that's from Mike Meyer, who is one of the most prolific and well-known sign writers around. He does courses all over the planet, travels everywhere. He's an awesome sign writer, and he's a great illustrator too. He does it all. So this is the Mac Meyer mop, and you can see, look at that thin line, and it comes in various sizes too. I think the 8, 10, and 12. But look at that. This time I just took the GoPro camera and held it in one hand so I could get it close up, so you can kind of get a real view of what I'm doing. But yeah, I use quite a bit of water, and then I just wipe it on I have a little towel on my pants. Ah, it's a beautiful, beautiful brush. This is pretty much the same as outlining it, so you're kind of doing a double outline. But this tree took so long because I get into it, I love doing it, and I love doing all these details. So when I used to do splashes for fall, sometimes I do the tree in a more simple mode, for sake of speed and stuff. But then, and here this is all real time now, because I wanted you to really see how these brushes perform and what it's like to work with thin down paint. Because people ask me, do I ever thin the paint? I said, not really, but I do thin it down when I'm doing stuff like this. But now if I was using a 2-inch foam or 4-inch or 1-inch foam, I don't thin the paint, because it's a whole different deal. When you have a foam brush, you just push it against the window and pull it, and you can push it around more and get your lines. But when you're doing this kind of stuff, where you want little tiny clean lines, and you're using a brush like this, then you have to definitely thin the paint down. And gray you can thin down a lot more too, because it's got the white and the black in it, and it's more opaque. Like here you could use the AJ1 Alan Johnson signature brush, because it does little tiny lines. But I found that this brush, it kind of does both. The Mac Myers mop. You can get really tiny lines and super thick lines. And they have, and if you want it even thicker, you can build it up there. But I also have the size 10 and 12. So, I mean, you could, I'm looking forward to trying those out too next time. So now I'm just taking that, I bought that quart of, that's Valspar. I bought that too. I don't think that's the best paint in the world, but they have different grades, so if you get a little higher grade of Valspar, you're fine. But I would stay away from the economical stuff. It doesn't work as well. It's not as covers as well. And okay, so now I'm using the Colt Bolden's Flying Squirrel brush. I think this is a 6 or an 8, and I'm using that for the highlights. And he sent me a whole set of those. And before I tried them, and I thought, I don't really like these, but I think once you thin it down, it works really well for what I needed it for. When I did the first lines, they weren't light enough, so that's why I added white to it. I found that using my phone worked good too, but I'm trying to, in this one I wanted to use the GoPro and try to get up close so you could see what I'm doing. I might do this again. So there's a lot of things to cover here, so I move along. But you can see that brush handles really well. I should do a flying squirrel. But you can see why this video took so long. That line there I don't like. It's not very round. It kind of goes up. So I took the white and I used the white and went around. And in this video I'm mainly focusing in on this face and the hands, but mainly the face. On the original drawing he has eyelids, but on this one they're like just holes in the tree. And typically I wouldn't do it like this. I would do all the whole tree, the dark lines and all the light lines, but for demonstration purposes, that's why I'm doing it like this. Because I just want to show the face and focus in on that. Later on I do the rest of the tree, but I speed it up. But I think this works well where I just hold the GoPro in my hand, my other hand, and I can get in there tighter. And plus my hand's not in front of the camera like last time. You know, I was kind of complaining about, why do I do it like that? The camera's in front of, I mean, my hand is in front of the shot. Makes my arm look so long. I think I'm switching to a different brush. I think this is the, I just wanted to switch to try. This one makes really tiny lines. This is the Mac 258. Size 8. I think it's size 8. You got to get the biggest one. Comes in 3 sizes, the Mac 258. Those are sweet lines. They're just, that one's cool where it gets thick, and can do that too to give it a little bit of believability. And you can go back over the lines and It's pretty cool though. These trees you could spend days on. Just do detail after detail. Now what am I doing? Oh, I'm adding more white. I just dump it in. I wonder if I go over all the lines again. Maybe I didn't like them. Let's see what I'm up to. Oh yeah. I didn't like it. It was too dark. Because all these colors do dry darker. Ooh, I like that line. It's really nice. So I guess it's I guess I decided to go over all of them. I wanted to get it just right. Because you can see those lines once they've dried. Now these lines I haven't done yet, so. And I usually pick a side to put the light on, so I'm putting the highlights on the left side of the dark gray line. You just pick a side. These look better anyway. They're kind of more fleshed out, thick and thin. But yeah, it's probably better, more time saving if you make sure you got the right color, because I'm redoing this whole thing. And that's fine. And it's good for demonstration purposes. I should have a t-shirt that says that. It's good for demonstration purposes. Now here I went back to my camera. And I kind of zoomed in with my camera phone, I mean. And this is just a darker version of the same color. And I think this is still the Mac 258. That was weird, my camera died. Anyway, I'm working on the teeth here and just kind of filling in different areas. I'll put his tongue down there at the bottom. And doing a little line above the eyeball. Yeah, I forgot to plug in the power to my camera, so it was running off batteries and it just stopped. So I hope I got this synced up right. And here again, I usually do all the colors first, and then I do the black, but again, for demonstration purposes, I'm doing the black here. And I'm not sure which brush that is. I think I'm still using the Mac 258. Usually tell by the tips what brush it is, and this one's just black. It's fun doing these videos too because I have more time, so I can go slower and really enjoy the videos, and like I'm spending a long time on these eyeballs. You've seen all my videos where I'm just hauling ass, basically. And later on I'm going to do some videos, I'm going to do some airbrush and get into some really super illustrated stuff. And this stuff will apply to murals too, like if you're doing murals, it's the same thing. Here's the fun part. There, when I'm kind of going like this along the line. But any of the brushes I showed you, except for that, I probably wouldn't use that Alan Johnson brush for this because I want to be able to do some thicker lines. But the Flying Squirrel brush from Colt Bowden and the Macmeyer mop and the 162 flats, the Mac 162. Actually, the Mac 162, you couldn't get these kind of lines. It would be challenging. But the bigger lines, you could do that with a flat. But any of the other brushes, you could do this with them. But I think this is probably my favorite brush. Going to be my favorite brush for doing the details is the Mac 258. The largest of that series. It's either an 8 or a 10, something like that. But for doing these fine details, like those little tiny wispy lines on its teeth. Or like those lines there. You could use the Alan Johnson brush for that too, but yeah, I think this one's my favorite, and then the Mac 162. He is a bit creepy. I mean, come on. He's like, welcome to the forest. Oh, there it is. Can't see it though. Oh, okay, so this is the 1961 Macmeyer mop. Because I wanted something a little bit stronger, bolder. But it works great. And then I beef up that bottom line. See how I do that? So yeah, one of the reasons this video is taking so long, I think I got about 6 minutes left, is doing all this, the brushwork, the outlining stuff. But this should answer any questions you guys have about the outlining brushes. And it's really bizarre how the camera moves. Camera phone, it'll follow you kind of. I'm not sure how that works, but it does. See, the 1961, it even handles the little lines. And it might have been able to handle the stuff on the teeth and gums too. Someone's having fun. It's like a little go-kart outside. And I'm here on the Fallon Paiute Shoshone Indian colony. That's where I'm going to build my house too. Or have our house set up. It's a manufactured home. And I hope to keep making these videos. I hope you guys make some comments and let me know what you think. I love getting the comments. These lines are so fun to pull. I do enjoy this. I think I could do it all day. And I used to do it all day. I do end up going under his nose. I take a flat. The flats, the Mac 162, you kind of get the paint on them and you go like this. You get them really dry, and then you can do these cool, like underneath things like shadows, and it looks like you went like this with a brush a bunch of times. We're getting close. I like this guy. I like this character. And like I said before, I didn't always spend this much time working on this guy, but I did do him a couple times. I painted some Burgervilles for fall. It's so weird doing restaurants and you put your whole life into it, everything into it, your soul into it, and then they quit. It's so funny, they end up losing money. It's like a lot of times the managers, they love it what I do, and then they change managers and like, oh, we don't need that anymore. It's crazy. All right. Now I'm going in. I decided to speed it up. That's the Mac half-inch 162. So I'm going in and I'm just hauling. So you can use the 162, the Mac 162 for even the finer lines, but in most cases it's better to use the other brushes. But I'm just kind of hauling now. I mean, even though this is sped up, I'm going fast anyway. Because I want the focus again to be on the face, the personality. And there's so many lines and there's so much stuff happening. People aren't going to notice. They're going to see it as the whole. But the face is what pops out. And now I'm going in with the lighter color. I think that's a flying squirrel. It was a blue brush with a red tip. That's the flying squirrel. I forget the number. I'll have to figure it out. But he gave me a whole set of them, Colt. And like before, like I said, I told him, I go, these don't flow. They're not as fast, but look, I'm doing it. So that's a good brush to get your hands on too. Flying Squirrel Brush Company. You can just ask them what's the ones that Scott Campbell uses that you sent to Scott Campbell. So here I'm going back in with the black, like I talked about, like with the Mac brush, drying it out and going like that. And I'm gonna do his above his eyes, and I'm also gonna do under his nose. There's a lot of line work on this character, but it pays off. I mean, this could be a mural and it would be considered fine. It's not just a simple window splash anymore. This is a full-blown muralistic, or whatever they call it. See, I did his eyes and under his nose too. Oh, here I went back to a different one. Oh, there we go. Hey, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for putting up with me for 45 minutes, and I'll see you next time. Bye.